All right, welcome to Seeing the Win Live, and we have here today Mike Nelson from Integrity Home Group with eXp. I'm so happy and excited to get a chance to talk to you, Mike, and welcome and thank you for joining us.
Likewise, my friend, I'm super excited about today's opportunity to talk with you. Loved playing golf with you a few weeks ago, and I'm super stoked.
Oh, are we gonna dive right into that with what happened on the golf course, or should that be like on a behind the scene episode?
I'm open to anything. Our audience may not care as much as we can, however.
Absolutely. That would be a story for another day. But we're going to dive right into this, okay?
Absolutely.
Mike Nelson. Okay, what can I say about him? If you guys don't know, obviously Google him, and he's absolutely amazing. Okay, and the reason being for this is I don't know if you guys heard of that story of like the three little pigs when it comes to real estate. And Mike, have you heard of that story before?
Not as it ties to real estate.
Yeah, well, everyone knows the story about the three little pigs, right? You know, the first pig that's building their home out of hay. Well, it's the same type of analogy, but it's real estate agents. So we have these agents right now that built their business based out of hay. So if there's a changing market, you know, something's happening, they're gone. You know, the wind just blows them and they're gone the next day. And then we have other agents that perhaps, you know, have some systems in place. They may be using a CRM and they may be able to weather the storm, and they built their business based off of sticks. And then there are those agents that built their business out of bricks. And I know one of them who's happened to be, you know, the person that I'm talking to right now, who built an amazing real estate business based off of a systems of leverage of people and technology, and to be able to be a mainstay and to just thrive in this changing market. So that's why I'm so excited to be talking to you, Mike, and for you to share your wisdom with our viewers and how we can have a business like yourself. All right. So thank you again. But a little bit about Mike is that Mike and his team, they're top 1% in the country. That means out of 1.6 million agents that's out there, Mike and his group are performing at a high level, and that's 1% of the business, and that is just an amazing feat alone, right, Mike?
Thank you.
So, first question for you. All right, give me all your secrets. Tell me what did you do?
Oh man. Well, it's a lot of networking. It's a lot of getting to know great people like yourself. We definitely don't have it all figured out. We definitely don't have all the ideas. However, we figured out a lot more than a lot of people. Yet being around a network and a group of people that are special to us, like yourself and others that are running really high-level businesses. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I just know how to network with other really smart people and work together to build things, right? So that's probably one secret, is I look at myself more as a networker today, even though I run, you know, the real estate team, if you will. We've got enough leverage, which we'll probably talk about that in a little bit, and the value of the leverage and why it's important. However, you know, with that leverage in place, I'm able to go out and meet really quality people and, you know, learn how they're running business. No different than this podcast or the video we're doing today.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, you know, take notes, take a pen and paper, message Mike. He is amazing. He's a wealth of knowledge. And really, we want to jump to the point of building a successful team, not just for now, but, you know, 3, 5 years, 10 years from now, you know, are we operating at a high level? And one of the key things that I heard so far is that connection. Is you're a people person and you're a connector of people. I believe you're one of the smartest people I know. I know you don't claim to be, but there's a lot of great things that Mike and his team is doing. So I kind of want to share a little bit is top 1%. So what does that mean, right? So out of all the agents that we have, there's 1.6 million agents that's out there in America. And of that, you know, roughly or so, there's about 7,600 teams, okay? And if you were to look up in any MLS or anything like that, you're going to see top performers. Are they individual agents or are they a part of a team? For most part, they're going to be a part of the team. Your top market leaders are team leaders and such forth. And Mike, my question to you right now is, were you always a part of the team first, or did you start off as a solo agent?
Yeah, great question. I don't think I started off definitely like most do, and that was as an individual agent role. For me, I wasn't even actually part of a team. Hindsight being 2020, I think my learning curve would have been a lot faster if I was part of a team. But at the time, I just didn't know any different. I was in a small market that didn't have a lot of teams, and it was Keller Williams at the time, and that particular market was all husband-wife teams. So I didn't really have an example to go off of with a team necessarily in that location. So independent, by no means was I successful. I tell people it took me 9 months to get my first deal, right? However, I was building I was building a lot of foundation, a lot of structure, a lot of systems, a lot of things with hope that it would pan out. And it certainly did from 9 to 12 months, but people will look at me and they don't look at the grind, and they don't look, they look at our outsides a lot of times versus what the reality of what we you, myself, and others have to do to get to the levels that we're at today. So what we then did is I was independent for, I think the first year I did like maybe 3 or 4 deals. That was pretty standard for what most new agents do that are independent, I would say, single agents. And I think we popped 24 the next year. So it was that hockey stick pretty quick at year 2. And then at about 35, I was like, yikes, this is getting a little bit much for a single person to handle with the marketing and the lead generation and all those things. So I brought my wife on. That was a natural fit. I was like, cool, you don't cost me any money. It might cost me some other things.
You're paying for it somehow. It might not be money, but you're paying for it somehow.
Truth be told, at 9 months, I was like, I don't know that I'm cut out for this. And she was the rock that encouraged me to stick with it and had all the faith in me. So I'll give her that credit 100%. So, but then after that, we basically took her and made her our executive admin, started building some of our systems, and that was kind of like naturally how we progressed into a team. Was we started with Keller Williams, had a lot of great training and resources there, and we attended expansion orientation systems class, which kind of taught you some of the foundations of teams, and we just immersed ourselves in a lot of training and knowledge and education, and I'm a big believer in that. I think you can do too much training and not ever produce. Don't get me wrong, it's a good balance, but knowledge is power, right? And we just stayed with it. And Justin came on after a while at 19, was our second buyer's agent after we moved to making a team. And we figured we were doing 35 to 50 deals independently. It wasn't like world beater numbers, but I didn't want to do 100 on my own. I didn't have that desire. I'm a big leverage guy, and the more we can do as a team, the better we are, and we're all more satisfied, if you will. So Justin came on at 19 years old, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure my systems as being an agent will work, but let's try it. And I think he did 31 deals in his first year with the team. And I was like, well, crap, if a 19-year-old can do that, not that he wasn't smart, not that he didn't work hard, it's just that I knew the systems ideally aided in helping some of that success. And so we're like, well, cool. We know this will work for many. So then we started to grow out from there. A lot of that's about building the right structure, though, too, because agents are easy to generally want to form up and do a team, but if you don't have solid foundations and systems, as your opening story was, it's all going to crash on itself anyways. So.
Okay. Now that makes sense wise. So one, if you were to do it again, you definitely would be joining a team, because you just mentioned you didn't get your first deal until 9th month into the business. And that's feast or famine. A lot of people, they're not eating. So they're going to quit, right? For most part, they're going, it's like, hey, things aren't working. Maybe I didn't make the right decision. So from what I'm hearing is that to save you some time, to save you some money, processes, if you were to do it over again, joining a team would be, kind of like your shortcut, to success.
Yep. So I'm a big believer. Yeah, I'm a big believer in like having mentors and coaches and others. Kind of that working thing we was talking about earlier is let others help you cut through the challenges that new people go through, because they have the experience and the guidance to do that. And the right teams, while they're not all the same, of course, there's better teams than others, shall we say. The right teams have the right mentors that give you the best chance for success.
Got it. So coaching, mentoring, training, and then application of all the systems that's in there.
Yeah.
So far what I'm hearing is you are doing fine. You're doing 25 transactions, then you're growing that business. You added on your wife to help support you with the operational side of the business. And then you're able to do a little bit more. And then your next hire was a buyer's agent. That seems to be the process, right?
Yep.
Solo agent, some type of assistant transaction manager, and then hiring the buyer's agent to be able to be in more places.
Yeah. So, what I've looked at, and I've seen a couple different models around this, is, it's hard to put a number on when, because I get a lot of questions when I was coaching. Things like that. Well, when do I hire my assistant? What's the right time? How many units? Well, that depends on your model, right? If you're in an attorney state or an escrow state, that process and workload looks a little different than maybe a Midwestern state that may have more non-third parties doing the work, right? So it's hard to say, hey, see, you should do it at this many and Mike's going to do it at the same amount, because our models are different, our state regulations are different, right? So that's a difficult question to answer. What I usually tell people is you want to be ahead of it, because the downside of what I see with most people is they get too busy, right? They do the 50, 60 to 70 units and they start breaking, and they're like, I need an assistant. I don't have time to go hire an assistant. I don't have the skills to go get trained up on how to hire or find the right assistant, right? And so a lot of it is just about having emotional intelligence and knowing and working with somebody that is a coach with you to basically give you some guidance around, hey, before you get too far down this path and it's hard to unwind, you may want to get ahead of it. But you also see some people that are like, I'm 5 deals in, I'm tired, I need to hire an assistant. And I'm like, well, I'm not sure your profit and loss statement suggests that. So let's talk about that first, right? Do you really need leverage at 5 deals? Maybe not, right?
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense, because, a lot of times we don't look at, us realtors, I'm included in this, where we look at our current deal, current transaction, and we're expecting a paycheck, but then we don't look at our bottom line and what is it costing us and such forth, right? And from what it sounds like to me too, is you were leveraging people correctly, you were leveraging systems correctly, and then also to a point where, you get asked the question, and I get asked this question too, is like, when is the right time to hire? And it definitely will vary, but first thing first is like, how's your system, right? And because, for most agents, this is their system. It's like, it's a roller coaster. It's like, hey, I'm really busy because I have so much in escrow. And then they concentrate on that, and then whoop, there's no more pipeline, right? So my question with you now, with the systems that you have in place, how do you know, or what do you do to ensure that you always have a pipeline? What is that?
Oh, that's a great point. And so for me, that's what I looked at, was like when my business started getting a little erratic, or I wasn't given the best customer support because I was being strung out across too many things, and wasn't able to focus on the high dollar work, which, let's be real, in our business, the highest value dollar work you have is getting more business. It's not even servicing the existing business. It's a necessity that you have to do to get paid, but getting new business is really where your priority is. So by really the pipeline and looking at that was like, okay, you take that process backwards a little bit, like you said, instead of focusing on how much business do I have now, well, let me look at my pipeline over the last 60 days as compared to what it was 60 days prior to that and 60 days prior to that. And if I don't see that growing, then I have a problem, right? And so that's where the leverage comes in, is I dial back and I go, I don't have time to send out mailers. I don't have time to, I have time, let me say, but I'm trading that time off for getting new business. So I really brought in the executive admin at the time to document the process. Because us real estate agents, we're really good about learning how to do something and keeping it in our memory bank, but we don't have it documented anywhere. So by bringing in that executive admin, that was one of their first jobs, was to document everything I knew into systems that we could replicate, duplicate, and make scalable. That was the other big point. We wanted to do expansion, which is another topic, but we wanted to make sure that the systems we were building today weren't just for 35 units. It was for 100 units that could be scaled up to that, and it didn't have to be just that city for us. It could be rolled out into multiple cities.
So I heard a lot of key things there. One is expansion and having systems in place, being it replicatable. So one of the terms I hear a lot of is rip off and duplicate, right? So who did you rip off and duplicate? That's one. And what, because it's true though, right? It's like, hey, let's save some time, let's save some money and hire a coach, hire a mentor, someone that can help you guide through that process. So hiring that project manager, your executive admin to document that stuff. What system did you use for it? What application?
Yeah, great question. So what we would do is we've always been big believers in networking and knowing people. And for me, I knew a lot of people that had bigger teams than I did, for sure. And I would make connections so I could get into with their director of operations or with their executive admin. And I knew if they were running a high enough business and I had the right relationship with them, they would share that information with me. Now all I had to do, and we're in the same boat, like there's bigger teams than us, way bigger teams than us, and we'll borrow their information. They're happy to share it. We do the same thing. So don't be afraid, I think is my message, to reach out to others in your industry that are doing bigger business than you. Maybe not somebody who's doing 1 million deals and you're doing 100 deals. The processes may not quite align, but somebody's doing maybe 10, 20% more than you is a reasonable expectation to have a more neutral process, or I say neutral, but a more specific process to mold to your business model, which I would say. So that's absolutely what we did. We just kind of plagiarized is the wrong word, but we took their and shared it with us, and they were okay if we used it, because I mean, how to process a transaction in Colorado is no different than anybody else, right? It's not like it's competitive information. It's just, cool, here's our system. You guys are going to use a few different CRMs. You might be using different e-contract software. So just going in and modifying.
Yeah, no, that is very key. Wise is, the way real estate, it might be slightly different depending on what market you're in, but processing the transactions, the management portion is very similar. We just might use different tools or systems, but the processes are definitely very similar on that. Absolutely. And being able to be very efficient. And I happen to know a really good manager. Her name is Brooke, right? She's your director of operations and everything. And I thought I was organized, but when I met Brooke and she just blew me away, I was like, wow, I'm impressed. And the reason why I was so impressed is like, even a person like me, like I don't know everything, I don't know much, I can even understand it. That's how amazing it was. It was almost like a McDonald's, fry system, right? It's like beep, 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 here, this is what you do next, right? So it's amazing what we done.
Well, thank you. And I think that goes into that kind of conversation of talent, right? Is one of the things about building a team. And when I say talent, that's agent partners, that is staff, that is your virtual assistants, like everything you should be breathing is learning is how do I identify talent? And when I find it, how do I fit it into my organization? Because if I find it, that talent's only going to help me grow. Even if I don't have a position for it, I will figure it out because I know they're going to help me grow, even if I don't see it right now. So talent's a big thing. And I think that's where we get hung up. And I've coached a lot of people is like, well, I want to hire my first executive admin. Okay, awesome. Do you have the process? Do you know what you're looking for? Do you have a model in place with the prototype of of what the skills you're looking for, right? All of those kind of things. No, I just hired my mom's best friend's daughter.
Yeah.
Did you interview them? Do they have, and again, notoriously a month later, they're like, I can't, this doesn't work. I don't want admins. I can't grow. It just put me backwards a month. And I'm like, well, maybe we got to step back and learn how to identify talent and be selective in who we bring into our world.
I heard a lot of great things on that. And one of the things that I'm hearing right now is if you're a solo agent currently and you want to develop a team and you're stuck, and for most part is we all know the benefits of why, we should have a team, right? Scaling our business, leveraging technology, leveraging people, and we're just growing and living the life that we want by design and becoming a true business owner, right? And so the part that I get asked too, and I want to ask you this, is like, hey, Mike, I'm a solo agent. I want to grow my team, but I'm not good at evaluating talent. I'm not, I can't train. I don't know what to do. I'm just really good at just real estate, talking to people. That's it. So what advice would you have for them, Mike?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think for me, it's you have to learn, right? You're going to have to. You can't leverage everything out and just be a salesperson. Eventually, you have to become a business owner, right? I work corporations and military. I don't know how to read a P&L. However, if I don't know how to read a P&L, I don't know how to run a business, right? So I had to train myself to learn the nuances of how to execute and read a P&L. Same thing here, right? But fortunately, I was at IBM and some other companies and did a lot of hiring, so that was somewhat of a talent for me already just based on my previous careers. Yet I do see that a lot. And what you want to do in those cases is, again, it's the same thing. It's connections. Anybody can call me and go, hey, would you look through this resume and tell me if you think it's worth an interview? Or, hey, I've done 2 interviews with this person. Mike, would you hop on maybe as just a third party that's not privy to the conversations we've had and ask some questions that you would ask, And so a lot of it's just networking with people and soliciting their help and experience back to mentoring, coaching, just looking for some help.
Terrific. That's great advice-wise there too. And next part going in is, developing on teams. You're doing the hiring. You're hopefully hiring the right people. How do you train them? What process do you have? How do you get them going from one being staff-wise and one being potential new agents or so? What's your processes for that?
Perfect. Yeah. So for us, we're very much about identifying that talent. Trust but verify is a big statement of mine. People can say a lot of great things about who they are and what they'll do and how they're going to conquer the world. Okay, that's good. I want to see it though, right? The actions have to match what you're saying. So for us, we learned early on that we still wanted to do the same thing. We want to kind of almost have an avatar as to what is the perfect buyer's agent that fits our model. So we can't have 150 systems at work in real estate and be effective. That's not us. We're going to take our skills that we know we're good at. Like we personally don't do a lot of door knocking. That's just not a skill we've acquired. Can I teach it? Sure, but it's not something I grew my business on. It absolutely works, 1,000%. It's just not something we did. So that's not, we'll let agents go out and do it, but we're going to be like, hey, if you're going to do 100% door knocking, we might not be the right team for you because that's not like something we've exhibited massive amounts of success on. So I say all of that because that's what we're trying to do is we build a 30, 60, 90 that is very stringent on, hey, if you're going to join our team, we know what it takes to be successful. We're looking for the elite. For us, part-time's not going to be a great fit for us because we know how long it takes to get spun up and get going. Plus, you're not going to be satisfied with the support we can't give you in off hours because my staff's not working 12, 14-hour days to handle people that are working during the day, their other job, right? All of those kind of things that just don't work out for us. So we're full-time, but we do a 30, 60, 90, and we certainly would take items from other teams that showed that this is what it takes in their models to be successful. And a lot of that is just, we tell them, you get I think Gary Keller used to say it, we are looking to hire the Navy SEALs. And we are actually wanting you to ring the bell because that means it just wasn't the right partnership. We want people coming out of our program as if they're SEALs. And unfortunately, sometimes we may have to bring on 10 to find 2 or 3 that actually won't ring the bell. But that's okay, because the 7 that rang the bell, we're probably going to ring it at some point in time in the near future. And we'd rather them be fair to them and let them go explore other teams or options if that's going to be the case. So to kind of summarize, we really build what we know is initial phase 1 success, which is 30 days, phase 2 at 60 days phase. And each time phase 1, 30 days might be, let us get you in, get you involved in the systems. And then maybe phase 2 is more scripts training and here's some leads that you're going to fail forward on. You know what I mean? We're just kind of building that up over 90 days.
So it sounds like you have a system placed to onboard new agents. There's a standard or expectations that you have, and you're vetting them through your hiring process and such forth to see if it's the right fit or not.
100%. A lot more eloquently than I put it. So
So, well, I guess one of those questions wise is like, hey, do I fit your criteria to join your team, Mike? I want to make sure,
yes. Hey, hold on. Let me put you on. I'm going to send you over my contract right now.
So, all kidding aside, you do an amazing job with hiring people, attracting people and such forth, and then retaining people as well. That's kind of like the next portion of the question is, why would someone around in your area and such forth want to join the Integrity Home Group, right? What do you do to attract them and to make sure that they're, of course, excelling, and then to be able to have them be happy and excited and just to grow together as a business?
Yeah,
what do you do?
That's a lot of failing forward moments in growing a team. You first start bringing on agents and you think, oh, this isn't too hard. And then you look at sometimes the lack of scrutinizing or asking the right questions and aligning in the right partnerships. And you learn real quick, it's not hard to bring on agents, but it's hard to find the right agents that match with you. So you fail forward through some of that. Like, hey, I brought on 8 and I got 2 left. Okay, well, what didn't work there, right? Was our process not well defining what we were looking for? Is it the training that we weren't giving appropriately? I mean, it's constantly dialing in. It's not just one thing. It's always breaking a system, fixing it, and now you're going to put a new system in, you're going to break it, and then as you grow, you're going to break those, and as you expand, you're going to break those. So it's always about breaking things and fixing them and breaking them and fixing them. So with us and our perspective of things with the agents we would bring in is just trying to really get them the best onboarding process, which for us, they spend about 35 to 40 hours in video training. Like, this is how you get logged into the MLS, or this is how you get access to the MLS, right? This is the eXp stuff you got to go to get onboarded. A lot of that stuff, just trying to cut out some of the administrative stuff through video, so we don't have to tie up a resource to constantly train the new agents that are coming onto our team. Once they get to that 2 weeks, they get into those 30, 60, 90s. And for us, it's really a lot about just keeping them. Production solves everything, right? That's the thing. If people are making money, you don't have the problems. It's when they're not making money is when you have the problems. That's why we want to get them through the 90 days as quickly as possible, because we'll know whether or not we think that they're going to have a great chance of making money based on their actions and their activities and their willingness to be coachable, right? And follow the systems really gives us a good insight into that. Then we learned quickly, okay, we were able to get agents to 24 or 35 deals within their first, say, 6 to 18 months. I don't usually count the first 0 to 6 because that's always kind of you might get a couple here and there, but that's not anything consistent until for us about 6 to 18 months in our model. So when they're hitting about 24 to 30 deals in some cases in that 6 to 18 month mark, we're really looking at, okay, we weren't retaining them. They were like, cool, I'm on my own because they wanted better splits, whatever the conversations were. And for me, it's never about better splits. It's more about better resources to them. I would rather be able to give you more, take more off your plate by giving you more leverage so that you can do more, yet it still feels the same as if you were doing this number, something below, right? As a single agent, you're doing everything at 75 units if you don't have leverage. What do? You go get leverage, so that way it feels maybe like you're doing 50 deals. Well, the team's going to do the same thing. They're going to wait till you get to a certain. So what we did is we kind of ripped off and duplicated from another organization that I'm very good friends with. They have like a tiered value model. So tier 1 is, hey, you do 0 to 12 deals. You almost got a job title of intern real estate agent. It's not a real legal term, but it's for us. It's what it is. It's like, cool, you're going to suck wind for a while. You're not going to get a lot of value from us. Like, we're going to give you some opportunity, but you got to earn most of that 12 deals, right? We're just not going to take it away from our 50 unit producers and give you a lot of deals at 0 to 12, right? Then we have a value from 12 to 24, a value from 24 to 30 or to 48, so on and so forth. And each value tier is more opportunity, is more leverage. is maybe being a business partner with me at a certain stage of let's go get a rental together and let's work on building your wealth, right? And so everything is staggered instead of it's a one size fits all. Whether you're a 100-unit producer or a 2-unit producer, we learned quickly we had to give some different values, but it's never about changing the splits, because if you can do more deals, it's still never about the splits.
Yeah. Wow, you said some really key things there. And one of it I heard is, just like you just mentioned right now, is it's never about the split, right? It's about what their goals are, what they want to accomplish, and then what, IHG could do as a group to support them, to get them to that stage. So, and it sounds like, you're leveraging great systems, great people, and getting them to a point where they can be, or they can operate at a high level. Right? Because that's your job as the coach, as the team leader, owner, is having your people in the best place possible, and then getting them to perform as well as they can. And then if they're, if they have to do, there's no knock on this, right? But there's different pay scales, right? There's your minimum wage job, and then there's your high revenue position, activities that you're doing, right? There's your $1,000 an hour type of job. And we want them to do that, right? We want our agents to operate in that high level and not have to concentrate on the minimum wage type of tasks that they have to do. And we do them all as agents, right? I don't know, our job title is everything, if you can imagine, under the sun.
We're not great at them all. Nobody is.
No.
And so you want to get those specialists in a team environment like a Brooke.
Yeah.
I mean, she's an integrator. I'm the visionary guy, right? Like you and I are like, woo, cool idea. Let's do this. Let's do that. I just learned this. This is amazing. We're going to blow our business up with this, but we don't ever get it integrated because we're terrible at actually executing on that. You got to surround yourself with rock stars for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of rock stars, can you share with our viewers what's your current, group level, team, how many agents you have, staff members? Where are you at today, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and me being real, we're in a slightly shifting market, and so I'm right sizing a little bit. We were pretty fat and happy over the last couple of years. I've had to release a couple of staff positions only because we're doing what we think is the right projection for the market and some things like that, and trying to stay in front of it. But with that being said, I think we have 4 full-time employees, 3 inside sales agent contractors, 4 virtual assistants, and 17 agent partners, somewhere in that neighborhood. So I don't know if you add all that up what it is, but it's probably 30 in the organization overall.
Got it. That's amazing, Wise. But you also just made a switch over to eXp as well, and you left a great company. I came from them too as well. We can't mention who they are, but the initials begin with K and ends in a W. But we learned a lot from it, right?
That red chair, and I still have it.
Little red and black there. So I'm just curious, Mike. You're a successful, agent, team leader, everything. Why make that switch?
Yeah, for me, was specifically for me, and I'll talk about the general public too, general agent pool. For me as a team, it just made a ton of sense from the perspective of expansion. For us meant we were in 7 different market centers or buildings, and it was 7 different owners with 7 different managing brokers with 7 different processes and procedures to process DAs and stuff like that. So from a staff perspective, it was a lot of, okay, this location, we have to do it this way, this way, this way, this way. Agents would get a little bit sometimes frustrated at some things just going on at the market center. We didn't have any say-so in it, right, per se, because we were the outsiders as far as a hub goes, if you will. We weren't even in that market center. Loved all the OPs, loved all the people there, nothing bad about it. It was just a model that wasn't as conducive in a larger expansion team network. So for us going under a statewide brokerage, it certainly streamlined it. There's one way to do it. The other thing with the previous organization is it might take us a month to get our checks back after deals were closed. And a lot of that was just because it was all referral-based stuff, right? It had to close at a location, then they'd have to mail it, then it would get lost, their title didn't, whatever, right? There was a lot of tracking that we shouldn't have had to do as a staff to try to get that. So Some were great at it. Other offices were struggled a little bit with it. So it is what it is. But then also the opportunity of all the benefits and the value, right? We hear it time and time again, and I see it in action. Is the rev share, the stock options, the healthcare, things that when we looked at joining, we certainly looked at what's best for the team, not so much what's best for Mike. Mike cares more about the team and the value the team gets out of it. And we were able to present it knowing what we knew to the team. And I think all but one, I think at the time we had like 13 agents, I think 12 came over with us because they absolutely saw a different value, just a different model, a different value.
Yeah, no, it's, I did the same too. I made that move, and what I experienced wise, and one of my biggest things that I learned is we meet so many great people. I mean, just that connection, right? Of because you mentioned it's like, what can we do that's our highest and best, that is a money producing activity, right? And I think we can all agree that connection with people is a high activity that we can do. And that's my one, probably the biggest change in my business, is connecting with people. Yeah, I was stuck in my little market, just knowing, the local agents around here. And then now with eXp and the model, and being able that I can call Mike from Colorado and I could ask him to join me for an interview, I wouldn't have been able to do that. People aren't as willing or aren't able to share, and I'm able to mastermind with you. And that to me is almost invaluable. It was like, just wow, it's priceless.
And I've attracted a few people over because of that exact mindset. Is like we were just blessed to be number one in that market center, and there's only so much value and training you can provide a number one team, because you're separated yourself, and they're not going to bring in specialized training for one person. I get that. I wouldn't do that either, right? So we were already going outside to try to find opportunities that matched the level of business we were doing. Nothing against that location. It's just that's the way it was. And so for us coming over, now other agents are seeing like, wow, there's a lot of power in people that care about this model, that care about your specific success. They don't just care about the $18,000 company dollar, right? They care about watching you grow. For financial alignment from them as well.
Yeah. One of my mentors, Brent Gove, he always mentioned to us is like, a rising tide raises all ships. And it is absolutely true with the model. And it's just like, Mike, you're not vested necessarily in me, but overall wise as a whole, it's like, wow, you want me to do well. And I mutually the same. I want you to flourish and thrive in this market like no other, and everything like that. And we're here to support one another. So I absolutely love that.
And I think what I really like about it is a lot of us have that servant mindset, right? Like I don't care if I'm in your line or not in your line, and you don't care if I'm in your line or not in your line. We have valuable ideas between the two of us that why not share them, right? What's working there, be working in California, and vice versa, right? It's just powerful.
Yeah, powerful. It's just a connection, and I love it. Well, thank you so much, Mike. I do want to leave you with a couple quick questions, just a fun-filled facts and everything like that too. And
about coconuts, right?
Oh man, I was about to go there too. Okay, never mind. I'll leave the coconut story for another time.
Hey, I'll shoot a podcast next, and then we'll bring the coconuts on that. So stay tuned for another episode from somewhere else about the coconuts.
All right, then. Fun fact, speaking of coconuts, if you could be anywhere right now in the world, where would you be?
That's a great, man. I think honestly, Mexico is the gym for me. It could be Cabo, it could be Puerto Vallarta, where we spent some time together. It could be anywhere south of the border. I love it down there, and that's where I want to be.
Amazing. So last question for you, Mike. If you could part any advice, any wisdom for an agent right now to thrive in this shifting market, what would that be? What's that one thing that they can do right now at this
point?
Right
now, I think, and this is going to kind of not be like some amazing, powerful statement, I would, if I had one thing to choose, I believe so much in the power of this person, even though I'm not with them anymore, but the book Shift. If you read the Shift, that will give you the exact recipe of what you have to do, mindset-wise, lead gen-wise, those type of things, bulletproofing your transactions. There's 12 tactics in there. Just because I can't give you 12 answers, I'm going to give you one answer.
Oh, that's terrific. I love it, and I'm very blessed to cross path with you, Mike, and with Justin. And I know we could be talking for days, and we definitely can. And hopefully this is just part one of 100 conversations that we have with one another. But I do appreciate your time, and thank you so much, Mike. And I will send you some coconuts just to let you know.
I appreciate that, and I will pay off some of my responsibility and say, if I actually should be applying for your team, because I know how great your team is, how strong your team is, and what a great leader you all are in all seriousness. And honestly, if I was in the California area, I would definitely be entertaining looking at you. And that's no BS, because I got to know you, and I would work with you in a heartbeat.
Oh, thank you, Mike. You just, well, I'll send you that check a little bit later just to let you know, but I appreciate it. And thank you so much, Mike. And thank you guys for listening in. Please go ahead and subscribe and like and comment. And of course, if you want to reach out to Mike and learn more about what he does to build a tremendous team that could stand the test of time, and then also just to learn a little bit more about what he does with eXp. And information is right below. So thank you again, guys. Appreciate it.
See ya.
Peace.